Now I'm going to explain you the second passage, that is banking on serology. Okay, we'll go very fast into this passage. It's very interesting. So it's about the present topic, that is like all the countries are fighting with the virus, which is known as coronavirus, COVID pandemic 19. Okay, the virus is not as lethal as originally feared. What is meant by this? Like every country has been feared, had been feared, it's very dangerous virus, but it is not that much feared as we originally believed, but it is more infectious than previously believed. We believe the virus is very dangerous, but it's not that dangerous, but it's more infectious than what we believe. A recent serology survey that scientists used to estimate the spread of COVID 19 in Mumbai has found that nearly 3 in 5, or 57%, okay, until here, 3 in 5. A recent serology, what is meant by serology? Diagnostic examination of blood serum. Okay, what is, well, I'll give you a brief example so that you can easily understand. Example for this, he was confident that the serology test would clear him of the charges. Okay, I think you may have understood what is this. Sometimes for any, for example, if you take Nirbhaya case, so generally they test the person, they do serum test, serology test, so that they'll be declared that he's involved in the accusation or not. And next one is, recently in the Mumbai, in every 3 and 5, 57% of those tested in slums had been exposed to the virus. 57% are exposed to the virus and had developed antibodies against it, as compared to only 16% of those tested in residential societies. So many of them who is exposed to virus have developed many antibodies so that they can fight with the virus, and 16% of and against it, as compared to only 16% of those tested in residential societies. Okay, this is comparison between the slum and the residential areas. Results from Delhi's seroprevalence study earlier this month found that nearly a quarter of the 21,000 odd samples tested had been exposed to the virus. Okay, serology test, seroprevalence. What is meant by prevalence? Widespread, ubiquity. What is meant by ubiquity again? That can be found everywhere. Seroprevalence, in that sero and prevalence. Sero, or as I already explained you, it is examination or diagnostic examination of the blood serum. And ubiquity, prevalence is nothing more widespread or ubiquity. Doctors are seeing, and that can be found increase in the prevalence of obesity. Okay, they have tested 21,000 odd samples had been exposed to the virus, and some of the districts had over 20% prevalence, and they will be testing in many districts. In that 20% prevalence, 20% is widespread. Of the nearly 7,000 tested in Mumbai, nearly 61% were from the slum, and the higher prevalence of the virus that was showed that as expected, those living in the densest urban agglomerations were most likely to have been infected. Okay, I think we everyone know that is COVID-19 is a transmittal disease. So you should, everyone is saying that you should maintain social distance. So agglomerations means mass or collection of things, cluster, lump. So they are saying that you shouldn't be in mass collection. Should not be in groups. For example, there was an agglomeration organized for different ethnic and religious groups. Okay, and next one is, a large proportion of those in whom antibodies were detected, the numbers are not known, were asymptomatic, and this pointed to that fact that the fatality rate in Mumbai may be as low as 0.05 to 0.10% instead of existing 5.5% as per estimating accompanying the results of the survey. Okay, what are they saying? What is maybe asymptomatic? Symptomatic, for example, if any one of you have got COVID-19, if any one of you have suffered with COVID-19, some were symptomatic and some were asymptomatic. So in recent days, we have observed, if you see in the news, many of the people who are suffering from COVID-19 were totally asymptomatic. So they are not having any symptoms of that virus. So for example, like asymptomatic, there is nothing to say about asymptomatic. It's very clear. You can understand from this. And next one is, such as serological surveys are increasingly being used by the states. The serological tests are being increased. Ahmedabad's civic body conducted one to conclude that only 17% of the city had been likely exposed to the virus. Even Ahmedabad had tested, so only 17% of the city has been exposed to virus. And next one is, and Tamil Nadu too is in the midst of conducting such a survey. A dominant theme driving state bodies that commission such surveys is to check for levels of herd immunity, or if 60 to 70% of the population have encountered the infection. It's very dangerous. Okay, herd immunity. Herd immunity. Two words are included in this. What is meant by herd? Herd itself tells you that it is a group, an immunity. You already know. Resistance to the spread of a contagious disease within a population that results in a sufficiently high portion of individuals are immune to disease, especially through vaccination. Okay. In Tamil Nadu survey, totally like more than half have been infected with the virus. That is 60 to 70% of the city or the state is infected with the virus. The argument is that this degree of exposure will akin to a vaccine. What does mean by akin? Similar character. Also protect the rest of those uninfected. This, so if vaccine is ready, still there will be people who are uninfected. So these people also will be protected. But given the absence of knowledge about how long antibodies last and extent to which they protect from fresh infections, herd immunity is not a precise science and not something ought to be pursued by state of matter of policy. How long, it's everything about how long will the antibodies extend, how long will they stay, or like herd immunities. It is 4 months since India got its first 100 cases, and very early in May, the Indian Council of Medical Research survey had shown that the number of those infected by the virus were multiples of those were being reflected in the official confirmed case statistics. It is about how the COVID-19 pandemic is increasing still from the May. The unrelenting advance of the virus shows that while it is much less of a killer in aggregate than expected, unrelenting, extremely determined or rigid, inflexible, unyielding. For example, he is known to be tough and unrelenting. Next one is, therefore, in the absence of a reliable vaccine, the vast majority of people everywhere, irrespective of peaks and ebbs in daily caseloads, continue to be vulnerable. Serology surveys can at best be crude pointers to chronicle the progress of the pandemic and not a psychological palliative. I think everything is clear and the passage is also totally completed. And what is psychological palliative? Palliative is nothing but a painkiller. It's a medicine or a sedative which gives you a temporary relief for the pain. For example, we want long-term solution but not short-term palliatives. Okay, I think everything is understood. Everything you have understood everything. So like these two topics are very interesting for us, and I thank everyone for watching this video.